Good afternoon. It's great to be with you again. How about this for colorful? Yeah, festive again. Yesterday, I've mentioned before many times that when I stumbled on credibility, and I was looking for another word, and I just I saved that because this is a documentation for me too, so it's kind of fun. And normally, when I stumble on a word, it will come before I finish the video. Well, this one didn't come until I had wrapped up the sharing. And the word that I was looking for was incredulous. Incredulous, not credulous. Disinclined or disposed to believe, skeptical, indicating or showing unbelief, incredulous. And I was talking, I don't know the context, but I just wanted to mention that there's my word. And I got a lot of synonyms. I like synonyms. So let's see. Incredulous is doubtful, hesitant, quizzical, skeptical, suspicious, unconvinced, unsatisfied, disbelieving, distrustful, doubting, dubious, mistrustful, questioning, show me, suspect, uncertain, and last but not least, wary. And as I said previously, I'm always in a doubtful. I doubt. My natural instinct and reaction to anything that I hear from an outside, and especially from a suspect source, I always doubt. And then I scrutinize and I work through and either discard or begin my sorting process of taking information and refining it to knowledge, and then panning for gold, finding the golden nuggets of knowledge. So I'm always doubtful, but at the same time I'm open. I'm open to new information, really irregardless of the source. As I stated, I will doubt it more. I'll be in a stronger state of denial. The least reputable or reliable source of this information. But I don't eliminate it. Because I tell you what, I watched a TV and all of a sudden in the middle of an advertisement something just boom. Or picked up a newspaper and found a sentence. Or looked in my book, constantly reading. I like science fiction. Thus I unwind at night with my iPad and Kindle reader. And unwind reading science fiction. And I hit upon things. Not only I'm always constantly looking for new topics, new titles, and I'm just saying, doubt it, but don't just dismiss it out of hand. Sometimes it's really hard to recognize our messenger. Someone or something is trying to, and like Malcolm X said, by any means possible. This is how the information gathering, this is how your exposure to new possibilities, potential new horizons, new directions, new guidance. So I don't dismiss out of hand anything in my environment that comes to me. You never know whose or what is the messenger. So you learn to be vigilant, you learn to pay attention. Or I did. And recently, the last few times I've been talking about, I started off with the Heart Sutra a couple sharings ago, and then I talked about the cognitive dissonance, about being able to learn how to entertain contradictory or polar opposites, finding the truth of both, entertaining at the same time the truth from apparent opposites. And underlying all this is, of course, this becomes easier with the understanding that it's a non-dual world that we live in. It appears to be dualistic. I'm in here, after all, looking out. But we start to understand that looking out, looking in, it's part of the same non-dual structure or concept. And one of the puzzles, because even the Heart Sutra, all the teachings, somewhere embedded is this importance, the primacy of this reconciliation of seeming opposites. It's something that we go through on our way to abiding awakening. We have to deal with it. Because understanding non-duality includes the understanding that, or the necessary step of discarding duality, which would include ego, self-concept, would exclude separation and division. So you have to go through a process to get to this place where you can start to see the inklings of possibilities. From a favorite movie in the past, Pay It Forward. Within the realms of possibility. Once you get to this state of mind, within the realms of possibility, anything that you can look at and you can consider, you can weigh whether or not it's in the realm of possibilities. And I say this sincerely, that all things are within the realms of possibility. These realms are inclusive. Put everything in there. Everything is fair game. Everything is up for grabs. Everything is up for examination. Everything is up for testing, trial by fire. trying something and see the consequences, the results. Was it helpful? Was it misleading? Should it be discarded? Should it be put aside for future examination and evaluation if you're not prepared immediately? It's good. It's really good exercise for that brain. I talked about the brain that's not designed to tell you what to do, but it is designed to help in the process of evaluating, of separating the useful from the overwhelmingly unuseful. And it's good. I like to keep this mind entertained. It likes to be busy. It likes to offer its insights about, particularly if you are wise enough to give it homework. So keeping these evaluations, keeping a list that you can kind of just dismiss, create the list and just kind of turn it over to your mind, and your mind will certainly, it's trained to get your attention. Once it gives up the ghost, once the mind really understands that it's not here to tell you what to do, it's not a decision-making mechanism. You need more. You need the combination. You need the litmus test of giving it to the heart. But this list of considerations, it's good to create one. Create busy work for your brain or your mind. Create busy work that can be on the back burner while your awareness is focused on the moment. Your awareness is engulfed in whatever activity you're involved at that current time. Life becomes infinitely more enjoyable when you can relax into the chore of the moment without considering chores remain to be addressed. You can avoid going to the overwhelm. Overwhelm is when there just is too much. Take it apart. I usually take the easiest of what I can. If I got some kind of big cloud hanging over me, some kind of perceived overload, too much needs to be done, I break it down. And I like to deal with the simplest, what appears to be the simplest at that moment. So there's some sort of accomplishment. There's some sort of reward. There's some lessening of the burden. And when you reach the point where you say that there's nothing more that I can do than what I'm doing right now. This is it. I let that other stuff just go. Something that's always stuck with me was when I was in a meditation and I pictured myself walking up a steepest mountain, and I had this heavy bag that was bending me over, and I think probably one of the reasons that I have such a bad posture is that as Muktananda's astrologer, Chakrapani, laughingly told me once in a reading, I act as if I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. And he thought that was the funniest thing ever. And I remember being affronted. Like, what? Of course, who doesn't carry the weight of the world? Wouldn't I be remiss in my duties? Wouldn't I be remiss in my responsibility of humanness to carry this burden? The weight of the world, and just push me down. And here I was climbing a steep incline, lugging this unquestioned, never considering what was making up this tremendous load, this tremendous weight in this bag that I was carrying up the steepest incline. And the steepest incline I'm talking about in your spiritual process, there's times when the steps, it's really steep. And I think that this is demonstrated by a lot of the temples in Asia, where you can only reach them after climbing a tremendous amount of stairs. Symbolic of the effort, the alertness, the awareness that you have to be putting into each step, and then getting the reward after your hard work, that you reach the pinnacle. You see the temple with the Buddhas within. You're greeted by the grace, the peace, the joy of the temple itself. So anyway, here's this. And I was always really old. In my vision that I always had, I'm very old. And for a long time, you might see the earlier videos, had my beard growing 4 or 5 years. And with the end game probably of being like ZZ Tops with their giant beards all the way to my waist. Well, I decided that I keep it trimmed now. I like the facial hair. It's good for balance because nothing up here, bald up here. So having the facial hair, but also having it trimmed. It's closer to presenting myself in a figure or a vision or a being that people could relate to. Long beard was, in China they have that tradition of the long beard and the wise men, but I wanted to retain some vigor. I'm not quite ready to surrender to the serenity of our golden age. The time will come when I'll be just sitting there with a long beard, sitting there and moving very little, smiling a lot, in probably a conscious state of continuous meditation. Right now, I'm in a constant state of meditation, but I'm able to, by sustaining, by holding on to some vigor, enhanced by my bicycle riding, my surfing, my walking, my hiking. These are to sustain the physical body, but also to create some vigor. I know as we age, the vigor of youth is nothing close. It's a lot greater than the vigor of a 72-year-old man. But if it was necessary at this point, at this time, to keep working on increasing my stamina, increasing my pool of available energy at any given time. And, I kind of enjoy tasks, and especially since I've learned to live in the moment with these tasks. I'm doing nothing now than staring into my computer, talking with whoever might be out there. That's it. That's what I'm doing right now. And when I started this, I went back to the Heart Sutra and said that one of the That Nich Han, the Vietnamese, the beautiful Vietnamese teacher, monk, talked about, because people get confused. It said, being and nothingness. Here's another being and nothingness. It's polarities again, isn't it? And one of the criticisms of Zen is nihilism, that believe in nothing because they talk about nothingness. But this, you must understand, this is the nothingness that includes everything, while everything includes the nothingness. Being and non-being. So nihilism, there is absolutely nothing. Nothing to believe in, nothing exists, God doesn't exist, the universe doesn't exist, it's all for naught. And this is the empty nothing. This is the static. This is the dead nothing. But how about the vibrant, alive, inclusive understanding of within nothing, within everything lies nothing, and within nothing resides everything. It's dynamic. It's proactive, not reactive. Oh, there's nothing. It's proactive. Oh, there's nothing. While understanding with this acceptance, this expansion, this inclusiveness of nothing, this grasp of nothingness, does not dismiss, preclude, or relieve you of the responsibility of being. We have responsibility. Chief, as I was talking about, chief amongst our responsibility is our responsibility to the other. And remember, here we go again. There's no other, there's no me. Yet, it makes it no less so that we have a responsibility to the other. We have a responsibility to ourselves. Our responsibility to ourselves is to improve, to expand, to accept, to include, to embrace, to enjoy. Where our responsibility at first blush might seem lesser. Our responsibility to the other is to do everything in our power, whether it be a model that somebody can look to, whether it's just the grace that your presence provides to those that you come in contact with, to sharing on a YouTube video, sharing things beginning with where people are in their inquiry, offering suggestions, time-tested, self-tested suggestions of what I've done that may be helpful. Remember, we take what's useful and we discard what's not useful. And we have to revisit some of the things we've discarded, because maybe there'll become a time in our development when all of a sudden the useless can become relevant, can become useful. So don't empty the trash bin on your computer. Keep the trash in there, and then you can come and pull it out and look at it. And maybe then, eventually, when you can rest assured that there's nothing, no more gleaming, no more possibilities, it can be just released. Violet consuming flame is good for this. The violet consuming flame is something, that discipline that you can bring your daily accumulated karma, because just by breathing in and breathing out, we accumulate karma, Buddha or not. And the difference being is that most people's karma accumulates, but learning how to release it to the violet consuming flame. As every practice, it takes a conscious attention. And now I'm on automatic, that just as you would empty the bin, I empty the daily karma. I'm consistent. And this is really when I settle down. And I do settle down to begin my meditation. A lot of times there's a review. There's an evaluation of my personal successes and failures in the day that I'm living in, with not holding on to any sorrow or feeling apologetic or feeling guilty for my trespasses of the day. Instead, I replace this with the vigor again of committing to do better immediately. I was going to say to do better tomorrow, but where's tomorrow? To do better with the next breath. So this being and nothingness, that Thich Nhat Hanh replaced that. He changed it. He thought a better definition was being and non-being. Instead instead of nothingness. Non-being is more inclusive than nothingness, because non-being at least contains the possibility of being. So, to entertain the Heart Sutra's primary lesson, instead of being or nothing, or nothingness, being or non-being. I'm a being, certainly. I'm a non-being with equal certainty. No longer am I incredulous with the nature of things. No longer does apparent polar opposites that seem equally true threaten me with cognitive dissonance. I don't have to compartmentalize anymore. I don't have to discard what somehow disrupts my worldview. Something that flies in the face of what I believe to be so. Now I know to simply be able to entertain leads to ultimate acceptance. And ultimate acceptance of the falsity, the maya of dualism, and the realness, the immediacy of non-duality frees us and allows us to finally get the great cosmic joke. And we get to respond with a laughter that's so liberating, even though that laughter can morph into tears, weeping, and eventually sobbing. It will come back to the great belly laugh. And this belly laugh is readily available, and it's particularly useful to apply. To laugh at yourself is the key. Laugh at yourself is the beginning of understanding that there truly is no separation, no division, only unity.